Hello and welcome back to the show. My hair is angled up, and it's because Everton are on the up. We've won 3-0, ladies and gentlemen. This is very unprecedented, very unfamiliar territory to be in. And by that, I'm talking about how I'm feeling this weekend. 3-0, the most comprehensive performance I've seen in a long time. I guess you could say it's probably our best performance in years. I mean, it's not really. Because we had a very identical performance against Palace at home in this exact month last season. So even though it's been only a year ago, it's felt like many more years on top of that. We talked about this, well, for the last couple of weeks. Consistency. Obviously, it's on the players to perform primarily. And today embodied that. You know, we were on our game today. Quality on the ball, the endeavour we showed, the goals we scored, the confidence we displayed in our play on both sides. It's really that simple. And it was a performance that I'd like to think was one continuous half rather than two separate halves. Because I think in the first half, that was the more important half. But in the second half, we continued on with that. And I think our ability to remain in control, you know, that's something that we've been devoid of for quite some time, and it was very, very impressive. The more impressive half of the two, in my opinion. And confidence does quite a few things, as we've just mentioned. I mean, so much so that I now feel confident in wearing an Everton shirt today because of the pride I feel with that performance. I think we're going to start with the player of the game. There is a number of players I could pick, just like they were queuing up for goals. They're queuing up for this Player of the Match award. I'm going to give it to Jack Harrison. Absolutely brilliant today. Had a goal for his efforts as well. He deserved one of those. He could have had a second, but the goal nonetheless was something out of nothing. It actually had me out of my seat, surprised, because I was quite confused with how we had scored such a classy goal. I do think he embodied exactly what we were doing right in the attacking third, or the attacking half. In terms of that pressing, he was really hampering the opposition. Nothing was easy when Jack Harrison was in the vicinity, and his craft on the ball, really excellent. The positive movement as well, I think that really helps make attacks more dynamic, and a simple introduction of a player like Harrison who works hard, he's got a quality work ethic, I think really fits the bill in terms of what Dyche wants from his players. So I'm going to give it to him, but there are a number of other players who put their hands up. Amadou Onana in midfield, a number of last line lunges, you know, just winning the ball back. There was one that stuck out to me in the second half where Bournemouth hadn't even been able to get it out of their own penalty box, and Amadou Onana was on it and was able to win back possession for us. I think that was another big part of our domination today, was the fact that we could turn shit into gold. We'd lose the ball, but we'd immediately win it back with our relentless nature. So that was Amadou Onana's game for you, and he wasn't even starting 5 minutes before kickoff. So very good response to getting dropped, and I would assume he holds his spot for the foreseeable future and has to in the long-term future as well. James Garner was also excellent. Really loved his composure on the goal, because sometimes we overcomplicate things, but he did well to, you know, use those two forwards to his left and right well as decoys, so he could find that little extra bit of space to get the shot off and score the goal. So that was good by him. Really dictated the tempo of the game as well. That was really positive to see. His passing play was very positive. His delivery into the box, especially from corners, was quite dangerous. We were looking for Jared Branthwaite on the near post where he could flick it back into a more dangerous area. That's how that's what started the chain for our second goal that got Harrison on the board. Generally speaking, James Garner had a really strong game today. He is leading our team in a number of categories this season. There are absolutely no excuses for him to be stuck on right midfield. Absolutely non-negotiable that he stays in center midfield. It's really that simple. I don't want to see those two players be displaced, Onana and Garner. I don't want to see them displaced from where they were playing today, because we've seen it in Villa where they had blinders of a performance, and we've seen it today. That should be, I mean, it's a 2-game sample, but it is by far producing more in those 2 games than we've witnessed from other partnerships in maybe 5 or 6. So we need to run with that. Jarrad Branthwaite, again, a rock at the back. I think tenacity was a really large part of our game today. And Jarrad Branthwaite, you know, I really loved the fact that he didn't get a yellow card early. He was allegedly booked, but he wasn't. But the fact that he was putting in some pretty reckless challenges in the early going is exactly the precedent you want to set. Because Bournemouth pre-game would have sensed weakness in our team. They would have sensed that we may feel as if, you know, we're not capable of winning this game. Bournemouth would see this game as if they're playing an opposition composed of pushovers. Those sort of tackles by Jarrad Branthwaite, especially the one where he clattered through Dominic Solanke, that is exactly what we need. Exactly what we need. And it really promotes the idea of Bournemouth shitting the bed. I mean, they did it on a number of occasions in the first half. Even in the second half, that translated over. As soon as the second half began, there was an opportunity for Doucouré because Bournemouth were shitting themselves. I think, well, they felt, by those tackles, us setting the precedent nice and early, they weren't going to get anything easy, and that promoted mistakes being brought into their game. Dwight McNeil as well, excellent performance today. There was one play that the commentators brought to light. The goal line clearance, and then he sprinted up the other end in like the 80th minute to end up taking a shot for our team within the space of about 20 to 30 seconds. So that embodies the kind of work rate we're seeing with Dwight McNeil. His ball progression was very good as well today, and his crossing into the box was pretty good. An excellently weighted cross, by the way, to get it to Jack Harrison. A lot of the time we're skimming it along the ground and it's getting cut out. But that was incredibly classy by Dwight McNeil for the 3rd goal. I do enjoy watching this team when they're pressing, and they're pressing successfully. The great thing about scoring first is that confidence grows. And when we have Sean Dyche leading a team that has scored first, we don't lose. We have never lost when we score first under Sean Dyche. And you can see why. I mean, today really just shows that off. It's plain to see. When we were constantly, you know, pelting it at their own goal, you know, the attackers for Bournemouth are compelled to push up higher to help their, you know, defense out and be an outlet to, you know, provide a little bit of relief. But our centre-halves were doing really well in pushing up with the attacker and then cutting it out immediately as they were, you know, trying to exit. So them pushing up, trying to find an outlet, and being unsuccessful meant we trapped the ball in our own, well, our attacking half, well, with ease, to be quite honest. I mean, Bournemouth weren't helping their case with quite a few skill errors, but that was another great application of the press, not just by our attackers, but by our centre-halves and our fullbacks. And I mean, we can bang on about the XG stat being a shit stat, but the XG today, I mean, was indicative of how many goals we scored, and it becomes much lighter viewing when you're actually scoring and you're being clinical. The problem in recent weeks was we were looking at that XG stat and people were saying, well, it's misleading. Well, it's misleading in a certain sense, but it also shows the fact that we've had a ton of looks and haven't been impacting the scoreboard enough and not putting teams to the sword. Today was a change in that regard, and the XG reflects that. So I guess that's where the stat actually comes in handy. And let's talk about DCL really quickly. It is just so refreshing to have him fit and firing. Credit to Sean Dyche for actually managing his injury well enough so we can witness this. DCL, I mean, he doesn't score. He was pretty close a couple times, but he does the intangibles right. He gets in the right spots. He holds play up. He looks after the ball. I think there was one where the ball was going out and DCL was able to flick it back into play as he was falling out. And we were able to continue with the attack. I do think that is, well, this is going to put us in good stead. We talk about the dynamic play that Harrison promotes. DCL as a mobile striker also helps that as well. And we're going to be the better team for it. The only criticism I have, apart from the set piece delivery, which was giving me a little bit of angst early on because of the incidents last week, was Abdoulaye Doucouré and his scoring. I mean, he scored a goal from point blank, but there were a number of chances he should have just put the game to bed, scored 2 or 3, it would have been happy days. There was one in the first half where he was goal side on his opponent, James Garner crosses it in, and for some weird reason, Doucouré holds back. He just needed to continue the run, and it's an easy tap-in. And we know Doucouré loves tap-ins and easy goals because he scores quite a few of them. So I don't know what he's allergic to. Probably scoring because, yeah, he had about 6 or 7 shots and scored once and probably only had that shot on target. So, yeah, it's one of those things that I think with a little bit of adjusting, it could fix itself. But at the same token, we could also bring in like an Arnaut Danjuma to add a little bit more quality. Because, yeah, I mean, 25 shots, 3 goals, pretty good return. But I'm a greedy guy. We haven't had a lot of scoring, a lot of goals to cheer about in recent memory. So if we can have an opportunity for 5 or 6, which we did today, I'm going to really try to promote that and encourage that. Anyway, that's going to do it from me. What a joyful win to celebrate. The most dominant performance in recent memory for an Everton side. If this is a sign of things to come, then it will be like my haircut, trending up. So, yeah, that's going to do it from me. We have an international break again. Stupid shit, I know, because you want to ride that wave of momentum into the next game. We've got Liverpool, the Merseyside derby. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Liverpool will probably wipe the kitchen floor with us. But that being said, I think the performances this season have brought a lot more reason for optimism than the last. So I think we're in with a pretty good shot. Thank you. We'll see you soon, and bye for now.